John, what items do you personally collect?
My favorite thing would be concert tickets. If anyone has Elvis concert tickets, please see me in the back, cash paid. Especially a Terre Haute, but I think I may have already found one.
He's trying to talk me out of my Terre Haute ticket. Not sure I'm going to give it up, but we'll discuss it. So, what are the items and things that are collectible by decade? Is that how you would do it first?
So the 50s would be the Elvis Presley Enterprise, the Colonel Parker stuff, the overnight cases, the lipstick, the Veriview flasher buttons, the hats. Yeah, all of that's very collectible. The tickets from 56 and 55 are very, very rare.
How much was the show in 55 and 56?
Well, I have a lady right now I'm working with, and Elvis was second billed on the venue. It was Slim Whitman as the headliner, and it was a whopping 50 cents to see Elvis.
I can't imagine 50 cents, although even in 75, I think I had dinner in Elvis for only like $20 in Vegas. So, where do you obtain all your Elvis memorabilia?
A lot of the things come actually from estates. A word of advice to anybody that has an Elvis collection: don't leave it to your family if they don't want it. Last year, I did a collection from Ohio, and there was literally probably 3,000 pictures. There was original pictures with negatives. It was crazy. And so when I bought the collection, the niece said, "Thanks for buying this, because if you weren't, we were going to put it on the curb." Don't leave your Elvis collection to your family.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine? What they date from?
It was everything. The lady actually took a picture of him. She was there in 1969, and actually had a photo of him right in front of her, like 2 feet away. He was dead center looking at her with his guitar right across the front. She just took her picture, snapped a photo, and it was literally the very first thing that sold out of the collection. It was a superb photo.
Again, how do you get your memorabilia? Do people just come to you, or do you seek people out?
Yeah, people email me, they call me. I just did a collection in Las Vegas that was basically a 12-foot box truck. There was one in Missouri that was a 16-foot box truck. That's why I have so many deals back there, because it's like I only have so much room. But yeah, people reach out to me, and then basically, I get it back to Memphis, and I work a lot with Elvis Presley Enterprises on some of the higher end stuff.
They actually offer to buy things from you, correct? If it's something that they don't have?
Yeah, Graceland has bought things from me. There's been items that were mine that were on exhibit. I've had items that are in some of the biggest collections in the world. But they do an auction twice a year, January and August, of all stuff that comes from private individuals. And a lot of that stuff comes from me.
So, did I ask this? What are the most desirable things to collect?
The most desirable stuff would be Elvis-owned items. So, cars, jewelry, clothing. There's actually going to be, in the January auction, kind of a sneak peek. There's an item that's coming from a very well-known Elvis person. It's a vest, and there's a ton of pictures of him in it. So I'm really excited about that, because there's pictures of Elvis in it, and then there's pictures of the person that he gave it to wearing it next to him. Yeah, so it's anything that's Elvis owned is super collectible. Sun records are very collectible. The movie posters are very collectible. Anything that's from Las Vegas, Lake Tahoe, while Elvis was alive, is all very good stuff.
So what we thought we would do for you is, Paul David, my son, is, I thought, somewhere out there with another microphone. If you have a question for something, about something that you might own that John could help you out with, we'll field some questions from the audience. Oh, no, it's not my son, it's Irv.
Okay.
Irv is walking around.
Okay, what do we got? Questions? Anybody got a question?
Raise your hand.
Raise your hand if you have a question. If you can't raise your hand, stick your foot up in the air or something. Okay, here we go. Here we go. I'm right behind you, babe. Okay, there you go.
Have you met Priscilla Presley?
Yeah, I met her a couple times. When the new plaza opened, she was there for the grand opening, and I just happened to be there in exactly the same place that she was, so it was just dumb luck that day. But yeah, she was very nice.
Okay, right over here. I'm coming.
Liquor bottles.
The McCormick. All right, fun story on this. So the McCormick bottles, they're worth, depends on what they are. The karate one is the more desirable one. We usually sell them for about $25 because they were mass produced. However, the interesting thing with the McCormick bottles is, I'm going to dispel a rumor. So I might get booed for this one. So Colonel Parker worked the deal on the McCormick bottles, and from 1977 to 1980, the estate there was 11.5 million that Colonel Parker generated from 77 to 80. He didn't take 50%; he only took 4 million. So the rest of the money went to the estate. So actually, the McCormick bottles that everybody bought in the 70s actually kept Graceland from being sold.
Wow.
So I know a lot of people don't like the Colonel, but I have legal documents from the whole lawsuit and everything. But the Colonel is actually the reason that the estate was still intact. Because a lot of times when people die, they have those estate sales and they sell off the cars and the jewelry and everything. And that almost actually happened to Graceland. It was actually in the works of possibly being sold. But because of Colonel's negotiation deals, the estate was actually saved. And the McCormick bottles was a big part of that.
Wow, that's
The
cool.
Moody Blue album. Does the Moody Blue album, is that worth anything? The Moody Blue.
Not the blue one. The black one is about 100, and then they did a test pressings of them at RCA in Indianapolis. They were blue, yellow, green, and those are about 2,500 to 3,000 a piece. Good luck finding one. I'm still looking.
What about the ones that, the Moody Blue from Canada? What are the Canada?
So that was actually kind of a reversal. Canada had, their rare one was the black vinyl, and it had a special sticker where they were numbered. So the U.S. was blue, and those are $5. The black one was rare, and then it's reversed from the United States. The black one was common in Canada, and the blue one was a special edition. So they took what we did, and they just flipped it.
Okay, anybody else?
The gold one was a Canadian tribute, and there was also a special one that they did that was like a double gatefold that was numbered. The after death stuff was mass produced so much that they're $5 records.
But if you have something you want to sell that's worth some money, if you're in Canada, don't sell it there. Bring it to you because it's worth more money here.
Yeah.
The currency difference.
Yeah, I've only actually ever seen just a handful of the Canadian special edition ones. I mean, they're out there, but they're not common at all.
So for the Graceland auction, you know, they never auction things that they own. It's part of the legacy.
Right.
But like I noticed, I happen to have a white pick with the gold E on it that I got from Elvis in concert, and I noticed that one of the auctions that sold one like it sold handily. So
Yeah.
how do they authenticate things like that?
Well, they have a lot of records, receipts and stuff like that from archives, and they actually reach out to a lot of collectors like myself that do this and just kind of know what things are. But they do a really good job. The photos, Graceland takes very seriously. I just obtained a collection that had Gary Pepper's photos from the fairgrounds in 1962. And there's photos of him in clothing that I've never even seen him wear. And so those will actually be going into the January auction for his birthday, 85th birthday. And you'll be able to see those online in about late December.
And Angie sometimes sits there and bids on things. Angie Marchese, the archival director of Graceland, has bid on things that are in the auction.
Yeah, it's very important to them to make sure that everything is accurate, and they want things that tell a story. I have no problem working with them. They're on projects. They'll have things that they'll be researching, and they'll ask me. I'll say, yeah, I've got pictures or whatever. I try to help them out any way that I can, just for Elvis's legacy.
Of course.
How about I know there's a lot of them in circulation. How about the original Rolling Stones magazine with the picture of the young Elvis on the front, with the year Elvis passed away in '77?
Rolling Stone, it's an after-death thing. So basically what happened was when he died, everyone just kind of like, whoa, he died. And so they started holding on to everything. The stuff that while he was alive, like for an example, the ads that would have been run in the newspaper, like thanking him for the show, that would send like sold out. Those are kind of rare because while Elvis was alive, people just thought he would live forever. And so they never thought to like hold on to that sort of thing. So when he was on the front page of the newspaper the day after the shows, those are very collectible. But people have the death papers. They don't have the papers when Elvis came to their town and performed, and then they had pictures splashed across the newspaper the next day. So if you have stuff like that, that's very collectible.
That makes sense, doesn't it?
And the older, the better.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you get that stuff back from the 50s. I've always put a challenge out to anybody. Find me a newspaper from when he was born from Tupelo with the birth announcement.
Wow.
That's what I want.
Yeah, for sure.
Now that we're talking about the Rolling Stone magazine, there was a picture of Elvis on the back. It was in the back of the magazine. It was like a painting or a drawing or something. It was Birth of the Sneer with Elvis flossing his teeth. Is that worth anything?
I'm not familiar with that one. But, I mean, that happens a lot. Just when you think you've seen everything, here comes something, and it's like, what is that? I've never seen this before. Yeah, send me a picture of it, because I always love to see the stuff out there when it's like, I don't know what this is. I've never seen this before.
If you can find that floss string, it's probably worth a lot of money. Or a piece of chewing gum or something like that.
I found in a collection recently a novelty, I think it was from 1985, and it was a little glass vial, and it looks like it has like baby oil in it, but it's Elvis's sweat.
Okay, how many people bought that?
I wasn't impressed. That went right in the box with the Elvis toenail clippers. I wasn't impressed with those either.
So so we know the original 56, 57, Elvis Presley Enterprises, or however it was listed, of course is valuable. What about the original Factors things?
Factors there again, that falls into the category with Colonel Parker. And so that was, there was Factors and Boxcar were the two main companies that the Colonel worked with.
Boxcar was before he passed, though, right?
Yeah, Boxcar, the very first thing that Boxcar put out was a talking album from 1974. They sold it in Vegas, and it literally was an album of nothing but Elvis talking. And interesting enough, when the Colonel put it out, RCA got a hold of him and said, you can't do this. You can't sell an Elvis Presley record. You don't own, the rights to do that. And the Colonel said, well, he's talking. He's not singing. And they said, oh, we'll get back to you. Let us check with our lawyers. And then they came back and they said, okay, you got us. You can sell this record. And so then ultimately RCA bought the rights for it and put it out. It's called Having Fun with Elvis on Stage. It's a very unique record. The very first one that they sold in Vegas was a white label that had a boxcar on it. Then RCA put it out and it had the label that said RCA with the orange label. But the boxcar ones are very collectible because that was outside the box of RCA.
Mine's an RCA one, but and it is true, as far as I ever knew, that the RCA record pressing plant in Indianapolis had let go of a lot of people and was very close to closing down when Elvis died, and then everybody went back to work.
Yeah, actually, there's a footage of him. I think it was the 1 millionth record or something that was being pressed, but it was actually Moody Blue, and they presented Elvis with a special award when he came to Indianapolis.
Yeah, when he got off the plane.
When he got off
in
the plane.
Indianapolis, yeah.
I actually have gotten some pretty cool things out of the RCA pressing plant. I've literally have 45 records that were never stamped through. They had the small hole, not the big one, and they had no labels. There was some really, there was a guy up here in Indiana that ended up with some really crazy stuff from there that I have in my personal collection because it's
Awesome.
one of a kind.
Yeah, awesome. Anybody else?
Here we go. We just took a selfie.
Hi, John. You know
Hi.
me.
Yeah.
I thought you could tell me some more interesting things about my collections, my lobby cards that I love so much.
So, yeah, the lobby cards were a set of 8. They were in the lobby, ironically enough. Great name, lobby cards. For the movies, there was a total of 33 films. There was 8 lobby cards per film. And then it gets fun because King Creole was reissued, Jailhouse Rock was reissued. And so there's 8 for those as well. The one sheets are 27 by 41. That would have been, if you went to the theater, this wasn't me, but if you remember going to the theater, they had the boxes with the lights in them that would have opened up. They would have put the one sheets in there. Those are collectible. They did banners, which would usually be anywhere from 6 to 8 feet wide. On the website right now, I have the Elvis on Tour banner. That's exceptional. It's, I think, about 8 feet wide, but it's only like 2 feet tall. Those were getting pretty rare as Elvis's film progressed, so those are collectible. There were invitations to the premiere of the films, like a little booklet, like what your booklets that you have for this. They did booklets for those. Those are almost impossible to get. And probably one of the most desirable things from the films would be the standees. Like people in their Elvis collections have the cardboard cutouts of Elvis, but they also did cardboard cutouts for the movie. And some of them were 6 feet, some of them were 9 feet. There's actually, and I've never actually seen one, but I have a picture of one. There was a 9-foot tall cardboard cutout for the movie Blue Hawaii.
Really?
Yeah, and I would say if someone dug one of those up, you're probably looking about $5,000.
Oh my God.
So look in your basement and attic for the Blue Hawaii 9-foot standee, and we'll talk to Graceland about this.
Okay, what I'm wondering is if there's ever been any article or anything in either Playgirl, Playboy on Elvis.
I think there was an article that Playboy did, but it wasn't like Elvis directly did an interview with him. I think they took an interview from someone else and then just kind of capitalized that. Like I think from like maybe late 77, early 78, there was an article in Playboy that talked about Elvis, but it was, like I said, taken from an interview that was kind of like a third party at that point. When he died, everybody wanted to, kind of use, Elvis to sell things. Now, what's interesting with Elvis, does anyone know the connection between Elvis and Playboy while he was alive?
I do.
The jet. Before he bought the Lisa Marie, he used the Playboy bunny plane.
The very first time that I decided I would try and track him down at the airport, he was on the Playboy jet.
Well, it's interesting because he said in Vegas at one of the shows, Hugh Hefner must be out of his gourd to let me use this. I think the stewardess came with it.
Oh, really?
I think so. You might want to check with Linda Thompson on that, but
Yeah,
I think the stewardess came with it.
That's funny.
If you go to Graceland, one of my favorite artifacts that's on the Graceland tour, if you go into the kitchen, to the left you have the kitchen, and then to the right there's the cabinet that has the china and stuff in it. And if you look very closely, I think it's the second rack, and it's kind of tucked towards the back. And if this video gets on YouTube and Angie Marchese sees it, this probably will be gone. But there's actually a silver cup with the Playboy Bunny logo on it.
I'll have
And
to look.
I think that came off the
Off the
plane or
plane.
came from Hugh Hefner. But the Playboy Bunny is on the tour of Graceland in the kitchen on a silver stein in the cabinet. I
We'll
don't
have
know
to
how
see.
it got there, but it's there.
That's a good, funny story. I can see it now. You up there looking at Elvis going, do you know who I am? I can see that. Okay.
I wanted to ask you a question about those reissues you were talking about on the King Creole lobby cards. Because I saw one time it was a set, it was like a colorized set. Is that available, or can you find that?
Well, the difference is the date. So Jailhouse Rock came out in 1957. The original lobby cards would say 1957. The reissues came out in 1960 when he got back from the Army, and so those are dated 1960. And then the movie poster for Jailhouse Rock was originally red. And then when they did the reissue, it said, welcome back, you're the greatest, something along those lines along the top. And then they changed the color scheme from red to white. And actually, the Jailhouse Rock poster from 1960 is more rare than the original. The 1957, it went nationwide. And in 1960, it was only in the major theaters. And that, again, was something that the Colonel came up with while Elvis came back from the Army, while they were working on filming GI Blues. He wanted to film in the theater. So they actually did King Creole and they did Jailhouse Rock in the major marketplace, and then capitalized upon that for GI Blues to come out.
Interesting.
Okay.
The Colonel never missed a beat, did he?
There was an article I read where the Colonel was being interviewed. I think it was Hedda Hopper. And it was from 1967, and then they had asked the Colonel, at that point Elvis's film career was kind of on the downward spiral, and the 68 hadn't been out yet. And so they kind of boxed him in, and they said, of all of Elvis's films, you know, they continue to not make as much money. You know, what do you have to say to that? And the Colonel said, well, there's only one film of Elvis that did not make money, and it's Clam Bacon. It'll be out in 30 days.
He was something, wasn't
I think they got it.
Here's a question.
Did you ever get to meet Lisa Marie?
I have met Lisa, and she's really cool. She's a lot shorter than I had envisioned
very
that
tiny.
she was going to be. But yeah, she was great. I've met her when her CDs were coming out and she was on tour. I got to meet her several times there. And in my opinion, I never met Elvis, but she seemed to be just as nice as he would have been to meet him.
Anybody else? Question, here we go.
What's your thought on the Bradford exchange plates? I know they're authenticated, but I just want to know what your thoughts are on those plates.
So the Bradford exchange plates are, I kind of call them the kiss of death. I hate to say it. They don't make them anymore just for the simple fact that the demand just isn't there. So as Elvis fans evolve and collect, it's almost kind of like I would put them in the category of maybe like a Hummel figurine or like a Precious Moments, that kind of thing. People still buy them, but they're just not as collectible as they once were. We usually sell them for like $5 in the shop. It's just one of those things where they just have kind of died out.
Anybody else? Anybody?
he? What about the TV guides with Elvis on the cover?
Anything after death would be not very collectible. There was the first TV guide was from 1956, and those are out there. People collected those. The one I seem to have the trouble finding is the one from 1960. They had like a character drawing of him and Frank Sinatra on the front. So when he came back and he did the Timex special with Frank Sinatra, they were on the cover. But that one seems to be the tough one to get. Yeah, it's just people didn't think to keep that stuff. I mean, the original Elvis fans were teenagers, you know, and so it wasn't like, you know, a lot of collecting. If I usually find a TV guide from that era, it's usually in a scrapbook and it's just the cover. So to find the actual full, complete TV guide after 60 years is pretty tough. I'm glad to see that he's on the cover for the newer ones, just to keep the legacy going.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they've done some great covers with the metallic covers and everything. But the 56 and the 60 by far would be the ones to have.
More questions? Okay, here's one over here. Oh, just one over here and one over there. We'll go over here first.
I feel like Antiques Roadshow up here. This is great.
I hate to put us in the Antique Roadshow category.
Tell me what it is, Lorna. Wondering how much the box of photos that we're going to go to the curb went for.
The box of photos from what?
From the estate sale that we're going to end up to the curb if you had not bought them.
So what did they go for? So I still have, as a matter of fact, in I shouldn't say this, but in the vehicle right now, I have one of the box. It's a banker box. It's probably 10 pounds of photos in my car right now from that collection. The photo that the lady took in 1969, the really cool one of him right up front in the white herringbone suit, I put that online and really wasn't for sure what it would go for. And then when it was all said and done, one photo went for $1,000.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so if you have photos and if you have negatives, so anyone that went to see Elvis Presley in concert, if you had your photos and took pictures, those are collectible. Of course, back then the cameras weren't the greatest things in the world.
I have several of a 1/4-inch Elvis
Yeah.
from my Instamatic. How many has that one?
Yeah. I literally have seen photos, and that's like someone dropped a piece of popcorn on the photo, and it's like, I think is that Tom Jones or is that Elvis? Like, but if you were close and you got really nice photos, like Keith Alverson has amazing photos. He was up front. He took great photos. Sandy Pichon took amazing photos. They were all
Sean
up front.
Shaver.
Sean Schaefer took incredible photos.
Bob Heiss.
Bob Heiss, yeah, and even the reprints of those people are still buying and are finding them very collectible as well. If you went to the show and you were in maybe the first 10 or 15 rows and you got really nice photos and they're unpublished, those are very collectible. And like I said, the older the better. If you can get things that were candid, like you were at the Terre Haute when he arrived at the hotel and you took candid pictures of him going to his room, those would even be more collectible than an on stage because you were there in a more personal moment. The Gary Pepper pictures from '62 from the fairgrounds, I think, are going to do very well because they're early. They're early. Yeah. They're up close. They're personal. I mean, they're all dated on the side of the photo. They got the wavy corners and everything.
Well, plus his relationship with Gary Pepper, and wasn't he like the first fan club?
Yeah. The collection from Las Vegas had some photos in it from Janelle McComb of Elvis actually inside Graceland in 1971, and I'm still trying to catch my breath after seeing these. They're amazing pictures.
Who's got them?
I have them.
Oh, you have them?
I have them. Come see me afterwards. We'll talk.
I will.
They're amazing. They will not disappoint.
You know, I've seen some of them. What year? 71?
71. There are some of them that are out. He's in the blue shirt that he wore at the rehearsal. He's got his glasses on in the house. I think he has a cigar in his hand. I mean,
he did wear his sunglasses at night.
He wore them at night. I have one of the pictures out of a recent collection is from New Year's Eve where he was with Bill Morris, and it's at night. He's going to his car. He's got this white fur coat on that's just, it looks like he borrowed it from Liberace. Just this big white coat. Fantastic hair, sideburns, glasses on, and I'm not really for sure the story behind this photo. I can't figure it out because it's ironically enough, it's Elvis leaving to go to the New Year's Eve party 1970, and he's on the front steps of Graceland. Now you tell me who was there to take that picture. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like it before. So the photos that are out there that tell the story of him are just the things that are still to be found is just absolutely, just when you think you've seen it all, oh no, I've got pictures that will just blow your mind. Probably the one of the coolest things I think for myself that I ran across and I have in my personal collection is the what they call a wardrobe book, and it was from the film Charo. It has the original title, Come Hell, Come Sundown, and it's everyone in the entire cast and their the production photos. So when they did the wardrobe, it's literally everyone just standing there, and the wardrobe people come up, they take pictures. But what's really fun is when you see some of these people getting their wardrobe picture, you see Elvis hanging out in the background after he had his, and he's back there drinking a cup of coffee, and he's photobombing these people in the background, and they're all unpublished photos.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
That's my favorite thing I have.
Actually, we need to wrap up pretty quickly, but that reminds me, Charlie, our judge, was in, she spoke a couple years because she's been with us, and she brought a, Charlie, where are you? Oh, what's it called? Herb, get over there. Oh, you got it.
Oh, the casting sheet. I saw it.
Oh, the casting sheet.
I saw that, yeah.
It's going to be in the Great Elvis Auction tomorrow night. It is so cool. She's got 3 candid pictures on the set, and it's like John's talking about where their call when they had to be at whatever because they were on location, and it's got everybody in the whole movie. Elvis, and it even tells them what time they have to be there, except for Elvis, who he could come whenever he wanted, evidently, because there was nothing there for him.
Well, that was for Spin Out. Hers was
That
for
was
Spin
for
Out.
Spin Out, yeah.
By Spin Out, he should show up when he wanted. The one I have for Kid Galahad, he had to report at 5 a.m.
Ooh.
No wonder he didn't want to do the movies for very long.
Exactly. So, did you have another
We got
question?
one more question here.
I just have a question about the top bubblegum wrappers that have Elvis in them. Are they worth anything?
The ones from 56. They're the first Elvis trading cards came out in 56. There was a total of 66 of them, and they came in like a yellow and white wrapper that had red print on them. So the ones from 56 would be the ones that would be collectible. The ones from Boxcar, the ones later on that were red that had like a character drawing of him from 78, those are probably about $5 a piece. Ironically enough, when it comes to the trading cards, probably the most collectible thing of everything related to a trading card would be the box from 1956. Everyone got the cards, some people kept the wrappers, nobody kept
the boxes.
the box. And if you had a case of them, I heard of one person having a case of 56 trading cards, and so that would be off the charts, incredibly rare. So yeah, earlier the better. It's kind of like, I tell people, it's kind of like if I'm going to buy you a Mustang, do you want a 1998 or do you want a 64? Earlier the better.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
John.
This has been great. Thank you for a great festival. If you guys have any questions, I will be back there if you have anything that you want to ask.